All right, we'll go on to this Q&A. Again, want to work on to this Q&A. Interesting thing came in. Wasn't really a question, but just something to address, I guess, a little bit. Somebody had mentioned. Whatever song, I guess, an ad I put up, and asked about the ad and about proselytizing and other things. And so this person, had said, in the end, now, actually, I don't think I can respond. But nonetheless, what the person say? He said, I'm Ashkenazi, meaning, my ancestors come from, let's say, Eastern Europe, most likely Eastern Europe or Russia, and he's Jewish, okay, and he's a pagan. Yeah, so you get all three. So now, what's the statement over here? That's why I sort of bring it up here. So he says, with that said, I would not turn my back on my ancestors. I incorporate Judaism with paganism, rituals, and holidays. Sound problematic? Sounds problematic. If you're Jewish, you're Jewish, right? Okay, your mother's Jewish, you were born Jewish, you converted, whatever it is, right? Whether a person, grew up as an Orthodox Jew, didn't grow up as an Orthodox Jew, came to it later, doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. Now, person says, okay, I'm a pagan, right? I am a Jewish pagan. That's kind of problematic. How can you be both? They don't go hand in hand. Yeah, obviously, you can't be. The Torah doesn't say you're allowed to be a pagan, right? Just the opposite. So that's a false statement because you really can't be both, so to speak. Right? Same thing. Person wants to be quote unquote a Messianic Jew. Well, you're not a Messianic Jew. You're a Christian with a lot of Jewish trapping, but essentially you're a Christian. So it doesn't go both ways. Either you're one or the other. Yeah, but the next part of the statement is the kicker, the one that I would say is really problematic. And that is that with that said, I wouldn't turn my back on my ancestors. I incorporate Judaism with paganism, rituals, and holidays. So again, being a Jew and being a pagan, you don't have, quote unquote, the best of both worlds. Right? Either you're one or the other. But to say, I don't turn my back on my ancestors, that's kind of problematic. Because that's essentially what you're doing. Essentially, you're saying, well, the Torah's not true. I don't have to believe in one God. I can do these pagan things, and that's okay. So how is that? I mean, $1 million question. How is that not turning your back against the Jewish people? If a Jew marries a non-Jew, is there any worse sin that a Jew could do? It's not the fault of the non-Jew. It's not the problem putting a stumbling block. Non-Jew didn't do anything wrong. The Jew to be together intimately with the non-Jew, Torah prohibition every single time. So if you ask any Jew affiliated with the synagogue, according to the Bible, yes or no, is a Jew allowed to marry a non-Jew or be with a non-Jew? Now they'll say no buts. It's a yes or no answer. Right? It would be like taking a Sefer Torah, throwing it on the ground, and defecating on it. That's what it's like. Because everybody knows. There's nothing worse than that. But in the end, most people don't care. And most people would say, guess what? Doesn't really matter. It's true. It's not true. I'll do what I want. I'll do exactly what I want. But this makes absolutely no sense. I'm going to be a Jewish pagan. Oxymoron. It's like saying military intelligence. But I wouldn't turn my back on my ancestors? You can incorporate Judaism and paganism? How is that? Even Christianity is problematic. Someone with a really, quote unquote, true Christian, how can they be a pagan? How can they do pagan things? Different brands of Christianity, okay? Some believe in it stronger, some not, whatever. But, a hardcore Christian, they're going to be a pagan? I don't think so. They're going to do pagan things? Some might. It's also a contradiction according to them. A lot of contradiction. That's a major contradiction. To be a Jewish pagan? Incorporate, both things? It's kind of like a person want to become pure. So what do? They go to the mikveh. Right? They go to the mikveh. They go to a ritual bath for spiritual purification. Very good. Yeah. As they're dunking in the mikveh, what do they have? What do they have in their possession? In their possession, they have a dead rat or a mouse or anything else. So as they're going under, they're still impure. Why are they still impure? Because they're touching this thing that's dead. So the purity of the mikveh doesn't help. So being a quote-unquote Jewish messianic doesn't help. You can't have both. You can't do both. Either you want to be a Jew, you want to be a Christian. But a messianic is a Christian. They just dress it up as being Jewish, but they're Christians. So, I wanted to respond, and now I can't respond to this, so I guess respond to it in an open forum, right? But to say you're a Jewish pagan and I incorporate both, that goes against everything Judaism stands for. Everything. Either one of the 10 Commandments, you shall have no other God before you except for me. Right? I am the Lord your God, took you out of Egypt. One person, one being. Shouldn't say person, one being. Nothing outside of him. Nothing exists outside of him. He's the one in charge. He's absolute. He doesn't change. Where in the world, according to the Torah, do you see you can do other things? That goes against what God says, goes against what Moses says. Be a Jewish pagan? Seriously? Yeah. Like being a Jewish witch. Big problem, even for non-Jews. Right? Sorcery, all that stuff's forbidden. 100% forbidden. I took a course, one of the last classes I took in university, in college, and it was a course on New Age religions. Of course, Wicca, these other things that, we read about, etc. So it's like show and tell. So professor brought in, different people tell the story, what they do, whatever. Most of them were Jews. Ignorant Jews. But Jews nonetheless. Aren't a lot of the heads of the Messianic movement, i.e., the Jews for J, they're Jews. They're misguided Jews. Yeah, but remember one thing. A Jew who goes to a so-called another religion, when they die after 120 years, they are going to get judged 100% as a Jew. So even if they would sprinkle water on you, yeah, baptism, whatever. So someone said, yeah, you know what that means if they sprinkle water on you? All it means is you get wet. That's it. A Jew doesn't change. Their soul doesn't change. They can do idolatry, God forbid. They can do other things, but at the end of the day, whatever they quote unquote change into, they're still a Jew. They're still a Jew. Right? But to tell me I can do both at the same time. Now there's repentance, okay? A Jew can repent, a non-Jew can repent, very good. But if not, you'd be in serious trouble. But how can you have two at the same time? You can't do both. Either you want to be a Jew or you're a pagan, or an idolater, whatever. That's why Maimonides says in the first of the 13 principles of faith that God is absolute. Maimonides is very clear. It's either you believe God spoke at Mount Sinai, God's the real deal, he's absolute, or you believe in idolatry. That's it. Nothing in between. You'll say extremism, call it what you want. Either you believe in God, you're going down the right path, or it's idolatry. That's the way it is. So try and say I can have both. I can really do both. How's that possible? Right? How in the world is that possible? Seemingly impossible. Torah says in the book of Deuteronomy, you cannot go against the prophecy of Moses. God gives Moses his credibility by telling 3 million people he's the one in charge. Whatever he says, you do. So how is that where do you see you can worship other deities? Where do you see you can do these pagan things? Why doesn't that come under the category of sorcery? Or even if it's not sorcery. Yeah. Things you're not allowed to do. See, the Torah is something obviously has to be kept. Even though we say there's 70 faces to Torah, very good. Different ways of interpretation, very good. But you have to be within certain boundaries. 100%, you have to be within certain boundaries. If you're not within certain boundaries, it's not Torah. This happens a lot. It happens a lot by Noahites because you have people out there telling them they can do this, they can do that, they can do the other thing. There's a balance here. You want to stay in non-Jews, stay in non-Jews, not a problem. You can still have a portion of the world to come. I could keep you busy for the next 250 years if I would live that long. What do you want to learn? Further wants to do all the mitzvahs. Okay. But a non-Jew is not it's not straddling both worlds here. Right? As we always say. It's either you go one way, you go the other way. Per se, yeah, but I want to be in tune, I want to do this, I want to do that. Okay, but doesn't mean you're allowed. 100% doesn't mean you're allowed. So either you're going to do one thing, you do the other. The two shouldn't mix, as I would say. So yeah, that is a big oxymoron. A Jew cannot be a pagan. A Jew cannot be a witch. A Jew cannot do sorcery. Right? Non-Jews also can't do any of these things. But to say, I'm not going to abandon my ancestors, you did. Essentially, that's what you did. You left the fold. Judaism is a made-up thing in your eyes. So you can do both. Beautiful. It's only one problem. Doesn't say anywhere you could. These other things are forbidden. So if these other things are forbidden, where do you see in Torah I'm allowed to? And if you want to tell me you're allowed to pick and choose whichever mitzvahs you want to do as a Jew, good, show me. Show me where God says, yeah, if you don't like it, it doesn't resonate with you, this, that, do what you want. Just do what you want. Cut out, most of the prayers, cut out most of the ritual, cut out all these things. Because in the end, it doesn't matter. You do what you want to do. Okay. When people tell me that, I want to do this and I want to do that. So my answer always is, okay. And I think this. Okay. Why do you keep saying okay? Because you're not asking anything. That's an agenda. I think like this and I think like that. Okay, so think what you want. But people are going to get baited. They're going to say, no, I got to answer. I got to stick up for God. I got to say this. I got to say, who said you have to answer? Who said you have to answer? Now, if someone would say, if I were to ask you if Judaism, discredits women or this and that, what would you say? Okay, that's a question. Answers you can't answer. Statements I have no obligation to answer. None. Where do I have to answer it? Someone will ask you, right? Probably never happened. I'm never able to be used this line. And that is, isn't circumcision barbaric? Right? You don't really have to answer that, but what a good answer is? No, barbarians don't do it. I think it's a good answer. Never been able to use it. It's a good answer, though. Statements we don't have to answer. We feel obligated. No, you don't understand. Torah says like this, commentators say like that. They didn't ask a question. They weren't, someone told me earlier in the week, said, what holiday is coming up next? So I told them, next holiday coming up is Hanukkah. That's it. I imagine, it comes out around December 25th this year. Very interesting. Okay. That's as far as conversation's going to go. Or if they ask any other question, I heard something about this. I'll give it a 10-second answer. That's about most people's, time span, right? Sorry, attention span. So I give a very quick answer, and that's it. Move on. Why? Because I'm not interested. It's like, that's interesting. Next. You gotta see where the question comes from. If they're asking a question, people are very quick to say their opinion. And I think this and I think that. Okay, so what should I say? You want to know what the Torah says? They're not gonna be interested. But again, they didn't ask a question. That's why in the Haggadahs we always say there are 4 sons, right? The evil son, the wise son, one does not ask, and the simple son. The wise son and the evil son ask similar questions, but he gives the wise son an answer because he wants an answer. The wicked son, you blunt his teeth. And the Haggadah says, had he been there, he would have been redeemed in Egypt. Right? What's going on with the wicked son? What's the difference? The question sounds the same. If you look at the Haggadah, the question sounds the same. It's the wise son. There's one major difference. The one major difference is the wicked son ain't looking for an answer. He doesn't want an answer. He's making a statement. So a statement you don't have to answer. And even if you would answer him, he's going to make fun of it. He's going to scoff. So it doesn't do anything. So I would have said, come on, drum close. Try and speak at his level, something esoteric. Something's going to draw them something. Okay. But you're talking to a brick. They don't care. They have an agenda. You're talking like this. You're not talking to the person. You're talking apples and oranges. That's it. There's nothing to do. We think, we're going to answer this and that. You cannot answer an answer. If they have a question, that's one thing. If they don't have a question, what am I going to answer? Yeah, somebody asks, why Ari Kaplan, in one of his Jewish books, said that for non-Jews to be Christians would be okay. That I have no idea. That I would have to see what he said. I'd have to see the context. I can't imagine he said it. Doesn't make sense he would say it. A non-Jew cannot be... sorry. I thought you meant a Jew. Why could a non-Jew be a Christian? The only way a non-Jew could be a Christian, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense either way. Because if we say that Christianity or part of it is paganism, right? Or let's say better. Let's say the Trinity, right? Not all Christians believe in the Trinity. Well, let's say by the Trinity. The Trinity, not everybody holds, not all rabbinic authorities hold. For a non-Jew, that's forbidden. That's idolatry. It's a major, major difference of opinion. Whether the idea of the Trinity is idolatry. For a non-Jew. For a Jew, there's nothing to talk about, totally forbidden. 100% totally forbidden. There is a question by a non-Jew. Do we say that is forbidden? Now, simple answer, we would say, yeah, it's forbidden. We hold it's forbidden in general. Yeah, idolatry. By non-Jews, they can't believe in idolatry. So if it's idolatry, then they can't believe in it, then they can't be a Christian. If it's not idolatry, is that a problem? So I would say, if it's not a problem, let's say it's not idolatry. That wouldn't apply to Christians. Okay. We got other problems. First of all, according to the Rambam, the book itself, their quote unquote new edition, new and improved edition, is forbidden. Because why is it forbidden? Not just because of all the mistakes and all the misquotes and mistranslations and everything else. That's another issue. But why is it forbidden in general? Says the Rambam, because it's called Chidushe Das. You're innovating a new religion. So any religion, quote unquote, that's a new religion that goes against the Torah is forbidden. Now, let's take it one step further. What about Islam? According to Islam, we hold they believe in one God. Their Allah is one God, right? One God. Now, even if we believe that, some say it's idolatry. Technically speaking, we don't hold idolatry. Islam is not idolatry. And the difference is, if a Jew needed to pray somewhere, they could pray in a mosque. Can't pray in a church. They pray in a mosque. Now, I've heard people say that Muslims de facto are Noahides. A number of people quote people say that, and I don't think that's true. They're closer to Noahides. That I would agree. They are definitely closer to Noahide. But all you have to do, and this wouldn't be so hard, is to find something in the Quran that goes against what the Torah says for non-Jews. I don't think it'll be so hard to find. Not a world expert, certainly in Islamic law and all that. But once you find one contradiction, one thing that doesn't apply, then the whole thing, it's like a deck of cards, right? Falls away. It falls away. Now, I would agree that it's closer to being a Noahide than any other so-called religion. Okay. But de facto, says the Rambam, very clear, this is a made-up religion. And even if it's closer to the Noahide laws, even if it's the closest thing, then I would say it doesn't matter. It's a made-up religion. Once you have a made-up religion, says the Rambam, it's out. Goes against the Torah. That's it. Right? So, how could Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan, of blessed memory, say that a non-Jew could be a Christian if that version of Christianity is not idolatry? Right? Maybe that's how we could say it. I mean, again, I have to see the context of what he said, what he meant, right? But that only gets you out of one problem. But I got two other problems. I mean, I got a lot of problems there, but I got two other problems. One other problem is a lot of what they do is paganism. So unless you tell me they're not practicing that okay. Maybe you could squirm out of that. Maybe get out of that problem. Okay, let's say. I got a third problem you can't get out of. The third problem you can't get out of is the Rambam. And the Rambam says you cannot have a new so-called religion. Making up a new religion is forbidden. That can't be done. So even if you get away, you get around the other problems of idolatry, paganism, and who knows what other problem, you got contradictions, other things. Okay. Even if you got rid of all those problems, which you won't, but let's say you get rid of all those problems, it doesn't take away from the fact it's a new religion. And once you have a new religion that goes against the prophecy of Moses, that's it, it's out. So, according to that, how would Rabbi Ari Kaplan say that's okay? Don't know. Again, I'd have to see it in context and see what he said. If you tell me Islam, that I could understand a little bit better, right? Because again, it's closer to the Noahide laws. Very good. Not paganism, not idolatry, right? We certainly hold it's not idolatry. So that I hear. But you still have the problem of making up a new religion. That doesn't get you out of the problem, according to the Rambam. That's a pretty severe thing. A very severe thing. So there are certain ways he might have said it. The context, again, I'd have to see it in context. But I would have to say that there are too many issues to get around that you can't get around that would make that statement false. Again, even according to, even if you say they're Muslim. Even if you say they're Muslim and they're close to Noahide laws, very good. So, still made up religion. Still false, right? Still a false book. Somebody asked, have I ever known any Ben Noah reversing their illness, sickness, or negative decree by doing Shuv and Avodas Hashem? Personally, let me think. I know someone who's, definitely had illness and whatever. It's not. I wouldn't say it's totally cured, but through a lot of very, very hard work, extremely hard work, a lot of the symptoms of different things have dissipated. Now, you want to pin me down and say, well, they had a serious illness and through repentance and avodas Hashem and serving God properly, they taken it away 100%? That I don't know. That I don't know. But I will say, Jew or non-Jew, if they see the bigger picture and understand the bigger picture, illness can be taken away. Many cases I know by Jews that's been the case. Doctor said they had this, they had that, they're going to operate and then disappear. But I'm saying personal experience. I've had too much personal experience with non-Jews in that case, or Jews for that matter. I mean, it's not impossible. I wouldn't say it's impossible. It's certainly not impossible. It's probable. Certainly can't happen. But do I know someone personally has been done to? No. Now, someone's come, I'm not going to say close, but, a lot of serious physical ailments, so to speak, cause mental health issues also. But, I do know that a lot of the physical ailments have gone by the wayside. And I mean, it comes back here and there, but for the most part, because they've worked on themselves a lot. So yeah, maybe I know somebody who hasn't totally dissipated, but it's not impossible. Not impossible even by non-Jews. Someone asked, another reason why one of the Hasidic rabbis, decreed Islam to be idolatry. No, that I don't know. I had someone tell me this also. I mean, I haven't researched it. I haven't looked into it. But someone told me there are certain aspects of Islam that are very highly problematic when it comes to idolatry. So I'm not well versed in that, but I would tell you I would tell you the vast majority of rabbis do not hold that. Absolutely don't hold that. Now, you ask me why does someone hold that? I don't know. Maybe they know different parts of Islam that maybe other people don't. I don't know. And they claim it's idolatry. But the vast majority don't. Someone asked, can the Jews under the age of 40 study Kabbalah? No. They shouldn't. Unless they have an unbelievable amount of knowledge. Could be there are exceptions. Right? Your stomach has to be filled with what we call shas and poiskim, right? With, going through a lot of Talmud, a lot of commentaries, etc. Before the person hits the age of 40, it's usually not the case. Right? There are exceptions. There are exceptions. If not, why were the great Kabbalists in Israel under the age of 40? The Rizal was under 40. The Ramchal was under 40. A lot of people, a number of people under 40, but they were great. I mean, you're talking about souls we can't even fathom who they are. Yeah. None of us in this generation or even previous generations would come up, to their toenails in many ways. The Ramchal had his books burnt because of that. Because understand that they thought what he was doing was dangerous. He was in his 20s. He was in his 20s. Everyone studies his books, though. And Kabbalists do study his works. But again, you're talking great individuals. You brought up two unbelievable people. So for the vast majority of people, of course it's not going to apply. You're talking, you're talking Torah giants of, we can't imagine who they are. Yeah. You can't imagine who they are. So I would say if someone was on their level, which they're not, but if someone would be on their level at a young age, why not? Well, that's have a certain level of maturity also. But nobody in their right mind today would tell someone on the age of 40 to do it, unless they're extremely gifted. Someone like the Vilna Gaon, only 250, 270 years ago. And he was learning Kabbalah also very young. He was also very young. Rabbi Yosef, the last generation, Torah giant, the last generation. His grandfather, the Leshem, he helped write his books. Edited, write them. He was also very young. But again, you're talking extremely gifted people. Extremely gifted people. So somebody, in this generation would show that kind of knowledge and encyclopedic knowledge and known to be an outstanding scholar. Would they tell him to learn Kabbalah at a younger age? Probably. I don't see why not. They're mature enough, why not? But again, you don't have that. You don't have that. You have to, there are two things there. You have to have certain level of knowledge. That's the first thing. A very high level of knowledge. But you have to be holding somewhere in the world spiritually also. And younger people are not necessarily holding there. You can say someone 35, they're not so mature. Who says they can't be? You're not saying they can't be. But what does the Mishnah Perkei Avos say? Right? The age of 40 is for what? Age of 40 is understanding. Right? The Mishnah Perkei Avos says. So at the age of 40, you have real understanding. Before that, you have less understanding. So therefore, 40 is a certain time. That's why you shouldn't learn it before then. Because before 40, you don't have real understanding. By 40, you'll have more understanding. Somebody asks, my responsibility to war and try and present facts to my mother. She has about 10 years left to live and insists that the fakester JC is God? The answer is no. Right? I'll ask a little bit different question and answer. Would a Jew have an obligation running after non-Jews, right, in order to convince them not to be pagans and not to be Christians? And the answer is no. One of the longest responses my Rabbi wrote over the years that he says, there's no commentator, early commentator, later commentator, he says that a Jew has an obligation to bring non-Jews closer to their own mitzvahs. Now, I had a troll come and say many times, the Jewish people, are light into nations. How are the non-Jews going to learn? You have to go out there and proselytize. Who says? If a non-Jew wants to learn, they'll find someone to teach them. And these laws are universal. So I have to run around teaching non-Jews not to steal, not to kill, right? Yeah, you say, well, what about euthanasia? It's also murder. Okay. I have to run around convincing them? That's my job? If there's a choice between, 100 Noahites and one Jew to bring them back to Torah mitzvahs, who would a Jew go to first? The Jew. Working out for our own first. Got to bring them back first. Non-Jew wants to learn, okay? They should be helped. But who says it's my obligation to go after them? Put up signs, in every church or in every pub which is near a church. Who says that's my obligation? Yeah, I've been taken to task for this many times. I'll say the same thing. Sound like a broken record. Not a Jew's obligation to bring a non-Jew closer to their mitzvahs. Now, you'll ask me the $1.5 million question. $1.5 million question is, what about a non-Jew? See, what's the obligation for a Jew to bring another Jew back? So the Gemara says all Jews are interwoven. Kol Yisrael Ravim says all Jews are intertwined. Like an obligation to return my brother's soul to him, to give his soul back. To give him proper understanding what Judaism is. That's my obligation. Doesn't say by a non-Jew. That's my obligation by a Jew. Are we intertwined with non-Jews? No. If a Jew does something wrong, are all Jews blamed? Yes. Doesn't matter, Orthodox Jew, not Orthodox Jew, secular Jew does something wrong, all Jews get blamed. That's what the Gemara means. All Jews intertwined. If a non-Jew, if an Italian in Brooklyn, did something wrong, something egregious, you think people are going to say, burn down Brooklyn? No more cannolis? It's over. Never happened. A Jew does something wrong? Yeah. Jews still committing genocide in Gaza, biggest lie in history, one of them. So all Jews. You're a Zionist, all Jews. Isn't it ironic? We get blamed for everything. So if one Jew does something wrong, the entire Jewish nation gets blamed. Whether they're religious or not. You never see it by a non-Jew. Never. So that being the case, a non-Jew has no obligation whatsoever to reach out to family, parents, friends, this, that, to convince them. They have no obligation. Right? So you're asking, is it my responsibility? No. You have zero responsibility. You don't have to feel bad. You don't have to feel bad about it. No responsibility. Now, a Jew, on the other hand, should do whatever they can to bring family, friends back. What are you going to do if they can't listen? They don't want to listen. So Gemara says you got to rebuke. How far does rebuke go? One opinion is till they smack you in the face. Like I say, one excuse is if I give rebuke, they're not going to listen. They'll hate Torah more. Okay, but you can't use that excuse every single case. This is a very complicated thing. The Torah says, right? The Torah says, we mentioned many times, you got to give rebuke. It says the book of Leviticus, but at the end of that verse it says, so you don't bear the sin. So if you rebuke, you embarrass someone, you bear the sin. Right? You bear the sin. You can't do that. So I had someone tell me, mistakenly, but they said, you got to give rebuke at any time. Really? Where's the Torah tell me that? They're taking it literally. Yeah, you have to rebuke. Very good. What's the end of the verse say? The end of the verse says, so you don't bear the sin. So people would say, you know what? I don't know. We don't know how to give rebuke today, which is true. But that's not an excuse every second of every day. Can't use that all the time. There are times you have to give rebuke, even if they're going to smack you. A non-Jew doesn't have that obligation. So a person here says, I got to accept 99% of my family going to fall into an abyss. Yeah. I can say the same thing about my family. They're also going to fall in the pit. They don't want the information. They're not interested. Okay. I can bring them evidence, this, that, nobody cares. Okay. Maybe I should try better, try harder, try different things. Okay, maybe. But you know what? They're also going to fall in the pit. They're also going to fall in the abyss. But I have a 10 times greater obligation than you do, than a non-Jew does. But if they're not going to listen, what can I do? You can't bring the horse to drink because they got their own agendas. I think this and it doesn't matter and blah, blah, blah. And even if you can convince me I'm not going to change. Okay. Doesn't seem like they want to listen. Right? So what's going to happen to them? They're in trouble. They're in serious trouble. So a person will say, Rabbi, don't you feel bad? Of course I feel bad. But guess what? Not much you can do. Right? In this case, you can't do anything. I can help everyone else. I can't help myself. Okay. That's their choice. They're drinking their own Kool-Aid, right? People still drink Kool-Aid today. They're going to drink their own Kool-Aid. Okay. They don't want it. They don't want answers. They want to fall in their own pit. They don't think so. Okay. What can I do? Isn't it sad? Sad. Well, what more can you do? Well, again, a Jew has a much greater obligation. Much greater obligation. Sure, a lot of things God's going to take me to task for after 120 years. Right? Hopefully this is one of them. Yeah. Yeah, maybe you can always do more. Maybe. But person doesn't want to listen, what can you do? Not much you can do. Yeah, other questions here. So when it mentions don't put any other God before me, right? Yeah. It's idolatry. Essentially, it is idolatry. So yeah, again, I would have to see the context and why he said it. What exactly he was talking about. It's very hard to understand. Right? And again, even if you get out of the problem that it's not, it's not about paganism and it's not idolatry. And that the Trinity is not idolatry. Yeah. They still got other issues. I don't know. I don't know. That's a mind-boggling thing. I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer how I could say it. And what his proof would be that it's okay. It makes no sense to me. Someone says I heard some Muslims believe in JC. They believe he's a prophet. I think for sure they believe he's a prophet. They don't believe him to be the prophet. Right? They also believe Moses is the prophet. Okay. But then they veer off. So what they say about JC really doesn't matter. Right? What they say about Moses, though, so why don't they listen to him? Why don't they listen to every last thing that Moses says? Why do they veer off? The Torah says you can't go against it. You can't go against Moses' prophecy and what God said to him. And you can't add and subtract to the Torah. So how do they veer off? How in the world do they veer off themselves? That's called the new religion. That's called the new religion, which is the problem. Right? Forget the inaccuracies, the contradictions, other things. You still run into the problem, even if you fix those up. You still run into the problem. It's a new religion. Once you have a new religion, you're out. No matter what. You can answer up all the other things, which they can't. Right? Someone told me there's a major, major contradiction. I mentioned, like, yeah, that's only the narrative. What like a secular Muslim say, yeah, that's only in the story. Oh, yeah? So why'd he say it? So why'd this idiot say it? You don't make such mistakes. You don't make 1,000-year mistake. That's pretty egregious. Yeah. Because one of the mistakes they make, and just throw this out there, right? There were 3 people involved, in the vice with Pharaoh. What to do with the Jews, right? So we hold, who are the 3 people? Bilam, the evil non-Jewish prophet. You had Yisro, Moses' father-in-law, and Job. So Moses' father-in-law, Yisro, didn't say anything. He fled because he's afraid they were going to kill him. Bilam has said, yeah, enslaved them. He got killed. Job didn't say anything. Either way, he got suffering. Yeah. Now, what does the Quran say? The Quran takes out one of them, probably Job. Takes out one of them. I don't remember which one. And instead, they take out one and put in Haman, Mr. Haman himself. When was Haman alive? Haman was alive 1,000 years later. That's kind of problematic in this story. Now it's only the story. 1,000-year difference. And they also claim that Moses' sister Miriam was also Miriam Magdalene. Yeah, Miriam is like Joseph, Miriam, and, the moms are JC. That's also kind of problematic. It's also a 1,000-year difference, at least. So I said you got 2 major contradictions. Now, that's only in the story. So let's repeat this. Does a prophet make mistakes? Prophet of God does not make mistakes. He certainly doesn't make a 1,000-year mistake. That's pretty egregious. Right? Christianity, we can find thousands of them. Doesn't matter. But I said that all I have to do is find one mistake. One mistake in the book. Now that's only in the story. So I said, all right, let's try this again. If this guy is a prophet, he does not make that kind of mistake. 1,000-year different mistake? Kind of problematic. Certainly problematic. Bottom line, he couldn't have been around at that time. So how can he give advice? He can't. Yeah. So they have a part where it states to believe in Torah and JC. All right. Although I'm not an expert by any stretch, in the Quran, but in either case, JC is a false prophet. Their books are false things. So how can they say it? Believe in both. There are too many contradictions to even say that. Even if you say JC existed, even if you said he did everything, the Gospels and everyone said he did 200 years later. They made him into something. He's still a false prophet. We sold he's a false prophet. And he went off. So if he's a false prophet and he went off, how can they believe in him? They believe he's a prophet. Right? That's clear. The Quran believes he's a prophet. We believe he's a false prophet. But they don't hold of him as being the prophet. So again, the whole thing is, doesn't make any sense. Right? Right? A lot of it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, let me see other questions here. Someone here mentions it's written, it makes it real to someone. Okay. Right? There are a lot of things that are written out there that the biggest lies to humankind, to mankind. Christianity being one of them. Evolution being one of them. The idea of a Palestinian people, we're not going to get into politics, that's another one. What are things written that are totally false? Totally false. Right? Anyone hear this flat earth idea? Sure. Someone came out, whatever, a few years ago. Yeah, still believes the earth is flat. Okay. Yeah. There's also literature written on it. There are plenty of books trying to disprove, let's say, what the Torah says, and and the book of Genesis and all that. Okay. They got all kinds of crazy ideas. Sort of it's written. You know what they say? Not everything said should be written. Not everything written should be printed, and not everything printed should be published. There's a lot of garbage out there. Tremendous amount of garbage out there. Better, it's easier today. Right? Back then, it took a long time to print things and whatever. Today, it's very easy to get things out there. Right? It's garbage. Absolute garbage. Most things out there is a lie. It's a total lie. So people think, and this is a huge lie. People think if they see something that's written and that is printed, makes it more true because it's out there. It's printed. I told somebody something once a number of years ago. I told someone something, and of course, they're not, we don't care what you have to say. Like, who cares what you have to say? Okay. 2 weeks later, they read something in the Holy newspaper, Holy with a small h. They mentioned this thing. I said, yeah, I told you that 2 weeks ago. Me, I'm not authoritative. Okay. I don't hold myself on a higher pedestal. Okay. You read it in a newspaper, all the news is fit to print. That makes it holy because it's written. People can write anything. Who cares if it's written? Yeah. Think about all kinds of crazy books that were written. They've been out there for a long time, and it's the worst vile garbage that's out there. Anyone ever read, which I don't recommend, 95 Theses by Martin Luther, right? Famous founder of Protestantism. Vile anti-Semite. Yeah. His stuff got printed. And guess who used a lot of his material? Hitler Yamashimo Mein Kampf, based on 95 Theses of Martin Luther. He took from him. Learn from the best. You want to tell me things that are written, people believe it more? Maybe. But so many things that are written that garbage. What? Person has an open mind to the brains fall on the floor? Come on. You got to think. Does it make sense? Is it logical? We've been accused of so many things that are so illogical. So illogical. It's what anti-Semitism is all about. It's illogical. Yeah, people write about it and say this and say that. It's unfortunate that, paper's been wasted on a lot of things. A lot of things. But I would agree. I would agree. If someone sees something in print, makes more of an impression. Makes more of an impression, but but again, if you have half a brain, you look at this, you analyze it. Is it true? Whatever. So how can someone believe it? Because that's the power. That's power of the written word and spoken word. That's what we see today, clear as day. You see, who's in control of the media? The left. So they're putting all this stuff out. It's all garbage. It's garbage, not fact checked, and they're lies left and right. What they say. But everyone takes it like the gospel. Everyone takes it like, come on. Of course it's true. Again, you keep seeing the same thing over and over again. Genocide. Right? Genocide, what's going on in Gaza. Palestinian people. The biggest lies. Biggest lies in the world. All you have to do is a little bit of research, find out the truth. But you know what? Lies keep becoming perpetuated. That's what happens. Keeps going and going and going. And then eventually, you hear it so many times, you believe it's true. You hear people saying that 40,000 people have been killed in Gaza. Total lie. Not even close to that. I'm not even saying using double standard and all that. It's total lie. And of course, who's perpetuating that information? The enemy. Makes sense. Not based on practical things, based on what they said. Someone asked, can I post something to others to read for the leisure about JC? If you want to. Right? You know, I wouldn't put it up here. Put it somewhere else. You want to put it on your page? Whatever. Yeah, most people are going to listen to this, don't care about Jay-Z. They believe he's false. We need extra evidence? I don't think we need extra evidence, right? Yeah, let me put it up somewhere else. Yeah, let me see other questions here. What can we take away from consistent heavy struggles and difficult tests? What are we in the world for? What does the Ramchal say? And path of the just and Derech Hashem, go back and read it. What does the Ramchal say? You're in this world to toil. We say every day in our prayers in the morning, right? Men are certainly going to say it every single day. We're here to toil, to struggle, to go through difficulty. I better we don't go through difficulty. But if you don't go through difficulty, you don't grow spiritually. So what's the whole point of tests? To bring us, to make our souls shine, to make us better people, to uplift us, to elevate us. That's the purpose. They can be hard as heck. Yeah. They can be struggles with livelihood, struggles with health, struggles with both, struggles with family, right? All kinds of different struggles. And what's the purpose of all the struggles? To shine us like a diamond, to make us who we are. God never puts a person in a situation they can't handle. At least we don't think, we may think we can handle it. God knows we can. And he might make the test very, very hard. He might squeeze us like the bottom of the toothpaste on a daily basis. Do you want to know what the purpose of that is? It's making you better. It's waking you up. I want you to be better, stronger. But yeah, but I'm doing this and I'm doing that. So what? What does that matter? You did it today, you do it tomorrow. You do it more fervor tomorrow. But it's not going to change. How do you know it's not going to change? Someone has asked, is it true that a non-Jew could pray and serve God the proper way and get rid of disease? Why not? If they're holding there and God takes it away, why not? I'll tell you something I've been saying every day, seeing unbelievable turnover. Mentioned this week also, right? Says Rabbi Peterman, it's a good thing to do? When you pray, thank God the fact you were created, you were born. And thank him for every last thing he gave you up until your life right now. That can bring unbelievable salvation. I can tell you, overnight things have changed because of that. Overnight. Now, why did God do that and how does that work? I don't know. It's a good question, but you're thanking God for everything you have. So says Rav Victor Miller, walk around and say, you know what? I'm going to have a drink. Thank you for this drink. I'm going to bite into this apple. What a beautiful thing. The apple thing. Think about it. Thank him for every last thing. Say, I do that. And I do the other thing. And I'm saying to him all day long. And I'm doing it, there's nothing's instantaneous. Moshe Rabbeinu prayed 513 prayers. Parshas Veschanon, Deuteronomy. The word Veschanon means to supplicate. Well, what's the gematria? What's the numerical value? 513. God tells him you're not going to enter the land. So why is he praying for? And every single prayer is a different prayer. 513 different prayers to enter the land. And then God tells him to stop. Why does God tell him to stop? Because if he would have continued, God would have probably got him in. But God tells him to stop. You think Moshe Rabbeinu gave up? He still wanted to go. God told him the decree is final. You can't bribe him. There's nothing to do. You ain't getting in the land. You're not getting in. I don't care what you do. I don't care how many sacrifices. It doesn't matter. You're not getting in. So what does Moshe Rabbeinu do? He doesn't quit. I'll tell you what I learned from the Brady Bunch. You know, I watched the Brady Bunch back in the day. Right? I date myself here. What is one thing I learned from the Brady Bunch? Winners never quit, and quitters never win. You can apply that to Torah. Righteous person gets knocked down 7 times. But he also gets up. And he also struggles. Yeah, everybody struggles. And what's the purpose of struggling? Reach potential. People are going to struggle in different ways. Some more, some less, different things, whatever it is. Yeah. Doesn't matter. Gemara says in brachos, even if there's a knife or there's a sword against your throat, against your neck, God can still have mercy. You might die. You very well might die, but God can take you out of it also. Many cases like that. Other things happen, different things. They didn't die from it. It happened. God always has mercy. Even when things look very, very bleak. Even when a person's on their knees. They got $1.50 in their accounts. Yeah. Yeah, maybe, 3 pounds in their account. What's going to be? Got this bill to pay, food, other things. So what do? God, you're in charge. You are the one in charge. I got to be better. But don't think everything's instantaneous. That's a mistake. Well, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. Well, didn't you just say this formula and it's helped you? Yes. Yeah. Yeshua's Hashem K'erevai. Salvation of God comes with the blink of an eyelash. Literally the blink of an eyelash, literally where you don't expect it. That's how it always happens. But imagine, someone's over this, they're on their knees, they're down to the last $1.50. What's going to be? No money in the bank. What's going to be? Good question. Then we know money coming in. What's going to be? You're going to pray a little bit different when circumstances are like that. You say, God, why are you doing this to me? That's not the question. There are 150,000 things we could have done wrong to deserve it. So you got to say, but I've tried this formula, that formula, other things. Okay, you keep trying. You keep trying to be better. Something's going to change at some point. Never going to be that way forever. But the whole purpose, think about it. The whole purpose is you're a different person while you're going through it. And you're for sure not the same. So that's the purpose of the trial also. See, by a rich person, a poor person. Rich person, are they gonna help other people because they have money? Or are they gonna be stingy? Or are they gonna be haughty? A poor person has to thank God for all the good he has, even if he doesn't have very much. So you can say that's harder. Okay. Let's say it is. You have a roof over your head even if it doesn't belong to you. You have food, you're not starving, you're not on the streets. A lot of things could be worse. How much worse could it be? Don't tiftach peh l'satan. You don't open your mouth to Mr. S. That's not what you do. So what's the bottom line? You don't give up. Doesn't the evil inclination want to break you? Absolutely. Doesn't want you to, just give up and just say it's not worth it and all that? Sure. That's what he wants. But God's squeezing everybody like the bottom of the toothpaste to help them reach their potential. Hey, well, why could I reach my potential other ways? I don't have an answer for that. This is what God wants from you. There's so many things we go through on a daily basis. It says Rabbi Miller, start thanking him for every last thing you have. Every last thing you have. And say it. He doesn't say think it, say it. People look around you and think you're stupid. Or you look silly and like, oh, you're mumbling these words, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, tell them you're going to speak in tongue. Tell them that. Roll around on the floor and who knows what. Yeah. You're speaking to him, thanking him for every last thing. Gratitude, it's a huge thing. Now, even if a person does that mean everything's going to change overnight? No. It gives you a different perspective. Whatever happens, God's the one in charge. You leave it to him. God can do anything at any time. Seen it. Other people have seen it. There's no question about it. You say, but it's been so bad for so long, and it's been hard, that's been hard, the other thing's been hard, good. And things seem keep going downhill. Not going to be forever. Yeah, when God wants a person to be down, they'll be down for as long as he wants. Till they get the message. Till they get the message. You got to say, but, does it have to be that bad? I'm not God. I'm not, Don't you think there are 1.5 million things we do to spit in God's face on a daily basis? Probably. How do we pray? How do we interact with others? How do we speak? Say, well, I'm working on it. Good. It's good. You got to work on it. Tremendous. But that's what you keep doing. You don't stop. Sometimes it's easier. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes, go through all kinds of things. All kinds of things. Life is a test. That's what it is. So all the tests we have is to make us better. And we see as we go through it, we become stronger in the moon, in our faith in God. Why is that? Why in the world is that? Because he wants to test us. And we see the benefit of what we're going through. It's hard. There's no question, but it makes you a totally different person. If at the very least a person sees growth in that, then that's the purpose. That's part of the purpose. It's hard this way, that way, the other way, good. But you're not the same person. If you're not the same person, you've grown from the thing. Whatever the test is. Someone says we should stop praying out of anger. Anger is a problem, right? You want to repent. So I would tell you like this. Think about when you look at the cup, is it half full or half empty? Like you say, person has all kinds of difficulties. It's half empty. Totally half empty. What about the good? Isn't there good? Isn't there a lot of good in a person's life? So I'll tell you like I tell everyone, right? Make a list of 20 things you're thankful for. Now, when you're down, when you're angry, whatever, look at the list before you rip it to shreds. Look at it. Might not help, but look at it. Think about it for a second. When you think about it, you realize what you have. And that these other things don't really matter. Well, I mean, they totally dissipate and all that. But you have a different perspective. Working on anger is hard. But what happens when a person gets angry? They're not thankful for what they have. A lot of things go right in our lives. We don't think so. Sometimes more, sometimes less. But like we end up in a certain place, like, how'd I get here? Right? Seemingly like you got there like the back way, through the back door. It can always go the way we thought. It doesn't really matter one way or the other. Bottom line, right? Bottom line, gotta be thankful for every last thing we have. Anger, everybody has. Some people get angry more, some people less, whatever it is. Anger, everyone has, but why do they have anger though? What's the anger based on? Things didn't go my way. Well, why didn't they go your way? Were you negligent? Were you sloppy? Someone bothered me? Okay, very good. So someone bothered you. Why don't you look at God sending that person to bother you in order for you to work on anger? That person's just a pest, and that person's going to get punished anyway. But God's using them as a stick, so why get angry at the person? Someone asked when we pray from the prayer book, does the Akedah, i.e. the binding of Isaac, have to be said out loud? Reading things in your mind, the problem. You should say the words. Right? Words in my heart don't mean anything in general. I wouldn't say you have to scream it out, but you should say it at least your certain prayers for sure, your ears have to hear the words. So I would tell people, if anyone who's going to pray, say the words so you hear them. If you were praying with other people, so you're not going to say it so loud as to disturb someone else, but in general, you say it loud enough for you to hear. And for many prayers, if you don't do that, you got to say it again. Because prayers in our mind don't mean anything. Right? Words in our mind don't mean anything in general. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to stop here. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday, usually 10 o'clock New York time, 10 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock, usually 5 o'clock Israel time, but we're an hour earlier now because we changed the clocks, but everything will go back to normal next week. Anyone who didn't change the clock, everything will be back to normal. Everyone in the States didn't have a problem because it's the same time for them. So otherwise, I'm going to sign out. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on the Torah portion of the week, which I haven't done in a while. Q&As, ethics for our fathers. Book of Leviticus. You want to send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBI, CHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com.